All right, I am excited to begin our second set of semifinal matches. This is in the UCLA division. And so we have three members of the UCLA law trial team, Andrew Burnquist, Erica Kelly, and your presiding judge, Peter Jones. Peter tried this case in competition. He recently won the national trial competition. He and his teammate, Sarah Stebbins, won first place nationally in the largest event in the spring. So I will turn it over to Judge Jones. Thank you all for judging, and I'll see you after the round.
All right, we're now calling the case of United States versus Danny Ocean. Can I get appearances from the parties?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Isaiah Banuelos, and I represent the United States of America in today's case, as we pursue two charges against the defendant, Danny Ocean, one of grand theft and the other of conspiracy.
Good morning.
From the defense, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackson Kunde. Today, we represent the defendant, Danny Ocean.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Your
Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Is there anything before trial that we need to take up?
Your Honor, both parties have already stipulated that housekeeping matters are already addressed. So if there is an issue, we'd be happy to clarify that during trial to direct Your Honor's attention to those housekeeping matters that have already been set.
Yep, and I've got that pretrial order here in front of me as well. If you see me looking over here, that's what I'm looking at.
Perfect, Your Honor. Then with that, the United States is ready to proceed with our opening statement.
Defense?
As is the defense, Your Honor.
Great. I'm going to turn off my camera for the statements. Government, you can proceed when you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Just one moment to rearrange myself.
Take your time.
It wasn't a coincidence. It was a conspiracy. It was July 4th, 2022. It was a busy night in Las Vegas. Families were enjoying their vacation. Businesses were booming with business. For many, it was a normal night. Or at least it should have been. At 10 p.m., 11 thieves executed a heist that they had been planning for a long time. They blacked out the entire Las Vegas Strip. They threatened to bomb a casino. They impersonated first responders. But by the end, they stole $160 million from the New York hotel and casino. Now, most of them didn't get away. Most of them have already had their day in court. 10 of them have been convicted. 10 of them have acknowledged their role in the theft and pled guilty. But members of the jury, you'll learn that there's still one standing. One is still walking free. One refuses to own up to what she's done. That thief is the defendant, Danny Ocean. You're going to hear today that Miss Ocean knew all the robbers who have been convicted in that heist. You're going to hear that on the night of the heist, she was in the same state, in the same city, in the same hotel, on the same floor as those robbers. You're going to hear that they told the defendant they were there to commit a crime. You'll learn that none of that was a coincidence. It was a conspiracy, where the defendant acted as the mastermind, which brings us to today. Because the defendant was involved with that crime, and we've charged her with grand theft and conspiracy. Now, I understand that might sound complicated, but it's actually quite simple. We have to show the defendant, Danny Ocean, plotted with others to steal over $1,000, and that action was taken from another. 10 people have already pleaded guilty, so we know that both of those crimes were committed. All we have to prove is that the defendant was part of the plot. That it was not a coincidence that the defendant was at the hotel, but that her involvement was a crime. And we have to prove this to you, members of the jury, beyond a reasonable doubt. All that really means is that we must prove the defendant is guilty beyond any doubt based in reason and common sense. To prove this to you today, you're going to hear from Agent Kelly Crimes, a special agent in the Major Robberies Division. He's going to take you through his investigation and show you that it was not a coincidence that the defendant is involved in today's case. His testimony will show you that what the defendant contributed to the scheme was a crime. That's why at the end of today's case, I'm going to come before you again and ask that you return with the only verdict supported by the evidence and testimony in today's case. To find Danny Ocean guilty of grand theft and conspiracy. Because it wasn't a coincidence. It was a conspiracy. Thank you.
Thank you, government. Defense, you can proceed with your opening statement on your own time.
Thank you, Your Honor. The facts don't match. There's something Mr. Banuelos is really good at. It's turning people into stories. He's good at pointing at Miss Ocean and saying, look, she fits. She knew the people that committed this crime. She was at the hotel at the same time. She fits the profile. But the facts don't match. You see, Miss Ocean stayed at that hotel for a different amount of time for a different reason. She never worked with the thieves, never planned with the thieves, never even knew what they were doing. You'll hear she had an alibi for the time of the crime, an alibi confirmed by the prosecution's lead investigator. The facts don't match. Members of the jury, you'll hear there's an easy reason why. Because 10 people committed this crime, and Miss Ocean, she wasn't one of them. Throughout this trial, the prosecution won't be able to show you any physical evidence, any witness testimony, any facts to prove otherwise. Because they don't exist. That's why the prosecution won't be able to meet their burden today. Because they have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt that it was Danny Ocean involved in that robbery. Not just that there were 11 people involved. Not even that, hey, we know there was someone else and she seems to fit the picture. They have to prove their claims, answer your questions. The facts have to match. And members of the jury, they won't. So as you listen to the prosecution's case today, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. What evidence is the prosecution's case missing? Is there any proof there were more than 10 people involved, and do the facts match? So let's start with that first question, because you'll hear today the prosecution is missing a whole lot. Evidence they should have, evidence they would have if Miss Ocean was actually guilty. You'll hear they have no DNA evidence, no photographs, no video footage of Miss Ocean. They have no reports of secret meetings between Miss Ocean and these thieves, no emails, no text messages, no witnesses to testify she was ever near the scene of the crime. So second, we'll ask you if there's any proof there were more than 10 people involved in that crime. Because you'll hear there's a reasonable explanation for every single reason for why Miss Ocean is at that hotel. And finally, do the facts match? Because today you're going to learn that Miss Ocean was just entirely missing from the scene of the crime. that there was video footage of her somewhere else. You'll hear that she told her alibi to the lead investigator, how he reviewed that footage himself. You'll hear that the real criminals, the ones that were convicted, they booked their hotels at the exact same time with the exact same credit card. But Miss Ocean, she booked at a different time with a different card because she was there for a different reason. Members of the jury, the facts don't match. That's why at the end of today's trial, I'll ask you to find Ms. Ocean not guilty. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, government, do you wish to call any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Special Agent Kelly Grimes to the stand.
You can proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Good afternoon. I'm Special Agent Kelly Grimes, Major Robberies Division, Las Vegas Office, Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Tell us about your experience in that field.
Certainly. I attended the FBI Academy and I graduated in 2001. There I was trained to do investigations into cases such as this. Ever since then, I've been working with the Bureau.
And what was your role in today's case?
I investigated a heist at a Las Vegas casino on July 4th, 2022, and Danny Ocean's involvement in that heist.
And do you see the defendant in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you
She's
identify
wearing a
an
lavender
item of
blouse.
clothing that she's wearing?
I apologize, sir. She's wearing a lavender blouse.
No worries, Special Agent. I know the Zoom technicalities, but Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
So reflected.
So, Special Agent, what evidence did you review when conducting your investigation?
During my investigation, I reviewed a forensics report that the Bureau's lab produced regarding the vault and several other areas in the casino. I also reviewed security footage from the casino security system and a reservations list provided to us by the adjacent hotel. I also interviewed witnesses such as the owner of the casino and Miss Ocean herself. I was present at the sentencing hearing of the 10 conspirators who've already been convicted of this crime. All of that was sufficient for my investigation.
And how do you analyze a case like this?
Well, I used the Bureau's major robberies investigation procedure that I was taught back at the academy and that I've used in cases since.
Did you reliably apply these principles and methods to the facts of today's case?
Yes, sir. My reputation within the law enforcement community requires it.
So I want to talk about that heist that you mentioned.
Sure.
Where did that take place?
It took place at the New York Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, around 10 p.m. on July 4th, 2022.
Could you give us an overview of what happened?
It's a relatively complicated plan that unfolded, but thankfully most of it's no longer a mystery. 10 people have since pled guilty to being involved, and they explained how they did it at their sentencing.
If I were to show you a transcript of that hearing, would you recognize it?
Yes, sir, I would. I was there.
Your Honor, we'll be publishing pre-admitted Exhibit 2 for the jury. This is permissible per the pretrial order.
Go ahead.
Agent Grimes, what are we looking at here?
This is the transcript of the hearing. In it, one of the conspirators, Mr. Peter Jones, explains how the plan unfolded.
And Mr. Grimes, if you could click on that for me.
Sure.
What did Mr. Jones say about that plan?
Basically, the thieves cut power to the Vegas Strip, which caused chaos at the casino. They then tipped off the owner that they had broken into the vault and were going to take the money. The owner called the police, but the thieves rerouted his calls to their own system. And at that point, they sent in an imposter SWAT team, which stormed the vault and took the money.
Agent Grimes, how much was stolen from the casino?
$160 million, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. You can set that aside now. So we have this confession now, but how did your investigation end up finding these 10 individuals?
Well, as much as I'd love to say that it's due to the genius and the hard work of my team, that would be a lie. We got lucky. Just a few hours after the heist, we received a tip that an individual in a nearby casino was bragging about being involved in the heist. I went to investigate.
And what'd you find?
When I got there to the parking lot, I found the man that they were referring to, who was known as Clark Doig, an infamous burglar. I searched his car, and at that point, I found a duffel bag full of money that still had the New York bands on it.
What'd you do after finding Mr. Doig?
I arrested him and I took him in for questioning.
What did Mr. Doig say when you questioned him?
Well, he confessed very quickly. And then when I told him that we'd go a little bit easier on him if he gave up his co-conspirators, he did exactly that.
And how much money did you find with Mr. Doig?
In Mr. Doig's car, we found about $14,500,000. So roughly 1/11 of the total.
How many people did Mr. Doig say were involved in the heist?
Including himself, he named 11 people.
Did he mention the defendant, Danny Ocean, at all?
Yes, sir, he did. He actually said that Mr. Ocean was the mastermind behind the whole plan.
Objection, Your Honor, as to hearsay.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to Rule 703, given that we have qualified Agent Grimes as an expert, he's allowed to use specific inadmissible hearsay when coming to his opinions in today's case. We've already laid the foundation to qualify Mr. Grimes as an expert, and he's using the specific opinion or hearsay to further his investigation.
Response to that, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. In order for them to use this evidence, the probative value has to substantially outweigh any prejudicial effect. We can't allow experts to just be used as conduits to hearsay. This is exactly what they're doing here. They didn't call this witness into court today, so they're trying to use out-of-court statements for the truth of the matter.
Response from the government.
Yes, Your Honor. The prejudicial value does not outweigh that of the probative value. The probative value of this is to explain the steps of the investigation that Agent Grimes took in his investigation. Opposing counsel's issue goes to weight, not admissibility.
Last word on your objection, defense.
Yes, Your Honor, this absolutely goes to admissibility. It has to substantially help the trier of fact in determining this witness's expertise and this witness's eventual conclusion. This can't just go to the conclusion that they arrested them for this crime. They're using this to prove the elements of this crime. It's an out-of-court statement. They're using this witness as a conduit to hearsay.
Sustain the objection.
Motion to strike, Your Honor.
To the extent the answer is on the record, it'll be stricken.
That's right.
So, Agent Grimes, what did you do to follow up on what Mr. Doig said?
Well, obviously, we couldn't just take him at his word. People in his position will say a lot of things. So I had to see if I could find any actual connection between the individuals that he named.
Did you find that connection?
I did. After the casino turned over its guest list, I discovered that all the conspirators were staying on the same floor of the New York hotel. I later learned during the sentencing hearing that staying on the same floor was part of the plan.
And if I were to show you a reservation list from that hotel, would you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Agent Grimes, if you could go to Exhibit 3 in that document that I had shared with you, do you recognize it?
Yes, sir. This is the reservation list that we received from the New York hotel.
And has it been changed since the last time you saw it?
No.
Your Honor, the government moves to enter Exhibit 3 into evidence. Per Stipulation 3, it's an authentic document.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 3 is received.
And Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 3 to the jury?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes, if you can set that up.
Yes, sir.
Now, those 10 conspirators that you mentioned earlier, are they on this list?
Yes, sir. All 10 of the ones that were mentioned are in rooms 3801 through 3805 and rooms 3807 through 3811.
Could you highlight that for us on this document?
Yes, sir. I've done so right here.
And is there anything that stands out in this reservation list?
Yes, sir. So if you look at the way these reservations were made, They were all booked on the same day. All the guests checked in on the same day, and they all checked out on the same day and used the same card to make the reservation.
Were you able to determine whether this was a coincidence, given what you learned from Jones?
Yes, sir, we did. After we had this, still had to confirm that this wasn't some sort of social gathering. So we were able to connect these individuals to the acts of the heist. Several of them appeared on the CCTV footage of the alleged SWAT raid on the vault.
And what about the defendant?
Sir, he's also on this reservation list. Miss Ocean is right there in room 3806.
And after looking at this list, what'd you do?
Like I said, we had to actually confirm still that these individuals were connected. So we gathered more evidence and we were able to identify them as participants in the raid on the vault.
And Agent Grimes, if you could take that down a second.
Yes, sir.
So if I were to show you a still from that footage that you mentioned, would you recognize it?
I would.
If you could go back to that document that I had shared to you and look for a title named Exhibit 5. Does this look like that footage?
It does.
Does this photograph look like it's been changed since the last time you saw it?
No, not particularly.
Your Honor, the government moves Exhibit 5 into evidence.
No objections to that, Your Honor.
Exhibit 5 is received.
And permission to publish Exhibit 5 to the jury?
Yes.
Agent Grimes, do you recognize the 6 individuals in this photo?
Well, 4 of them I recognize by looking at them. So the 4 individuals whose faces are unmasked in the photo are Denny Tunselli, Allison Stevens, Erica Kelly, and Zach Cotter, respectively. They would all go on to plead guilty later on.
What about that 5th person?
During the sentencing hearing, Mr. Jones said that an individual known as Edward Gugilian, who also pled guilty, was one of the masked individuals in the photo.
Now, Agent Grimes, you just named 5 people, but there are 6 in this photo. Do you know who that 6th person was?
No, sir. Nobody has identified that person at this point.
You can take that down now. I want to now look at that second part of your investigation. When did you speak to the defendant?
I interviewed Miss Ocean in January of 2023.
And the thieves on that list you showed us earlier, did you mention them to the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Did the defendant know the thieves?
The defendant said that she did. She said that she had actually was friends with all of them.
Did she explain how she knew them?
Yes, sir. She said she'd met them during her career as a thief.
Objection, Your Honor, as to improper character evidence may be heard.
Yes.
They're using these prior acts that Miss Ocean was a thief in the past to show propensity that because she was a thief in the past, she would have been a thief in today's case.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor, we're not using any propensity about Miss Ocean's thief or a history in the past. Rather, we're using this to explain how she is connected to her friends at that hotel on that day. We're perfectly fine with a limiting instruction for this to not be used for any propensity in the past, rather to just explain why she's connected to the friends on July 4th.
Response to that, Your Honor?
Yes.
They certainly are establishing that she was a thief in the past, so she'd be a thief with these people again today. They don't need this specific foundation that she was a thief before. If they're just trying to establish that she knew these people, they can say she knew them without saying that she was a thief with these people before, so she'd be a thief with them again today.
I agree with the defense. Counselor, you're free to elicit testimony that these people were friends, they knew each other. It's that last nexus about them knowing each other by way of thieving. So the objection is sustained.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Agent Grimes, did the defendant know these people?
Yes, sir. She did.
And you're telling us that the defendant was familiar with the 10 who pled guilty, but did those 10 individuals know each other before the heist?
Based on their statements during the sentencing hearing, it doesn't appear so.
Detective, I think we have an objection. I couldn't hear you, sir.
Oh, I apologize.
I was objecting just lack of foundation to the question.
If I may respond, Your
The
Honor?
question was?
Yes, Your Honor. The question was asking if the 10 individuals knew each other before the heist.
Okay, and what's your response to the objection?
Yes, Your Honor, we've already laid the foundation as to how Agent Grimes would know this, given we have Exhibit 2 already entered into evidence. If I may make an offer of proof.
Please.
Agent Grimes is about to testify that he knows this the answer to this question based on what he reviewed at the sentencing hearing.
Okay, why don't, no, that's all right. Counsel, why don't just re-ask the question, confining it to that base of knowledge.
Yes, Your Honor. Agent Grimes, to the best of your knowledge, did those 10 individuals know each other before the heist?
To my knowledge, sir, they didn't. During the sentencing hearing, Mr. Jones, who was representing them, was speaking for the group. He said that they didn't know each other prior to the heist.
And to the best of your knowledge, did you see any link between the thieves besides the defendant?
No, sir. We didn't find anything.
Thank you, Agent Grimes. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, if we could just have a moment to set up.
Take your time.
Thank you. May I proceed? Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Sir, I want to talk about the evidence you had before you arrested Miss Ocean for these crimes, all right?
Sure.
Sir, I was following along in your direct examination, and I wrote down the points you laid out for us, okay?
All right.
And I want to take these one by one, starting with the evidence of money, okay?
All right.
Sir, you told us on direct examination that the money you found was 111, right, sir?
The money we found in Mr. Doig's car, that's right.
I want to be very clear. You have no idea, other than that 111, how the money was proportioned otherwise.
No, sir.
Sir, you don't know that because you never found any other money.
No, sir. We did not.
You never found any money with Miss Ocean.
No, sir.
All right. Then I want to take that second point, sir. You said she was a part of this operation because they were staying on the same hotel floor?
She was staying in the same floor, and she was staying in the middle of the block that the other conspirators, the people who've pled guilty, were on. I don't know if that necessarily means that she was involved. I can't make a conclusion along those lines, but she was in the middle of that group.
All right, sir, let's break that down. And I want to see if those facts match between Miss Ocean and those burglars. Because you know those burglars, they all started that reservation on the same date, right, sir?
They all made the reservation on the same date. That's right. May 10th.
Miss Ocean didn't.
No, ma'am. No, sir. Sorry.
It's all right, sir. They all had the same stay, right, sir?
That's right. Their reservation was from June 28th through July 4th.
Miss Ocean didn't. Yes or no?
She arrived a week earlier, but she was going to check out on the same day, July 5th.
So that's a yes, sir. They did not have the same stay.
That's about right. Yes.
You actually know Miss Ocean. She had that room booked months before those robbers booked their rooms.
That's right.
And sir, as you told us on direct examination, those robbers, they all used the same credit card.
That's right. They used a card ending in 1002.
Miss Ocean, she didn't.
No, the card that was on file for her, I think, was 3553.
Then, sir, I want to talk about those 6 people you mentioned in that security footage, okay?
Sure.
Sir, you told us you knew exactly who 5 of those people were, right?
That's right.
You weren't sure who the other one is.
That's right. So over the course of our investigation, we identified 4 of them visually, and then an additional person was identified during the hearing. The 6th person remains unidentified.
Well, let's talk about that 6th unidentified person, because, sir, there were 10 people that confessed to the crime.
That's right. 10 pled guilty.
You don't know if that one unidentified person was one of the 5 other people who confessed to this crime.
I'm not sure, but again, the five of the 6 were identified during that hearing. No one's ever said that the others were involved in that SWAT team.
Let's talk about what no one's ever said, sir. No one's ever said that that person was Miss Ocean.
No,
You have no evidence from that security footage that that person is Miss Ocean at all, sir.
no, sir.
All right, sir. Then I want to talk about the evidence you didn't mention on your direct examination.
Sure.
Because you know Miss Ocean, she actually said she had an alibi, right, sir?
That's what she said, right?
She told you she was at the blackjack table when the crime was happening, right?
That's right.
Told you exactly what she was wearing when she was standing there?
That's right.
Your
She
Honor,
said,
hearsay.
You respond, defense?
Yes, Your Honor, these are prior consistent statements to show that this statement wasn't fabricated. We're actually going to call Miss Ocean to the stand today. She'll say these same things under oath.
If I may respond, Your Honor,
Please.
then those specific statements can be taken up on the direct examination with her. However, but to eliciting these through Agent Grimes is through hearsay, being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Remind me, counsel, what's the statement at issue specifically? Or what's the statement that was just elicited?
That she said she was wearing the same exact clothing, an exact clothing she was wearing at that blackjack table.
Okay. Government, do you respond to the prior consistent statement argument?
Yes, Your Honor, our position is that they can take this up on their direct examination and not eliciting, as per your previous ruling, as Agent Grimes of a conduit of hearsay.
Response to that, Your Honor?
Yes.
We're not using any expert foundation that Agent Grimes has to elicit this statement. This falls under 801 D1B as a prior consistent statement. And under that rule, it's just not hearsay, Your Honor.
Final response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Under the definition of 801, that's an admission by party opponent. Ocean is not the party opponent of the defense, Your Honor.
Response, Your Honor.
But specifically to the prior consistent statement argument.
Yes, Your Honor, our position
Yeah.
stays the same.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, sir, as we were saying, Miss Ocean told you exactly what she was wearing as she was standing at that blackjack table.
that's right. She said that she was wearing a blue baseball cap and sunglasses.
Right. So, sir, you went and you checked the security footage, as is your job,
That's right.
and you saw Miss Ocean standing at that table, right, sir?
That's not quite right. I saw an individual with the same build wearing a blue baseball cap and sunglasses, but I wasn't able to see their face to confirm that it was Miss Ocean.
Right. So let's break that down. You saw the same blue baseball cap she told you about,
She was wearing a blue baseball cap in the video.
sunglasses,
That's right.
same size as Miss Ocean, as was on that footage.
It appeared so.
All right, sir. Let's talk about the other evidence you didn't have. Because, sir, when you looked in the vault, you looked for DNA and fingerprints, right?
That's right.
Sir, you didn't find any of Miss Ocean's DNA in that vault.
No DNA was found from any of the conspirators,
No fingerprints from Miss Ocean.
nor from anyone else. No.
So you collected that money from one of them. You didn't find her DNA on that.
Not her DNA. We did find Mr. Doig's on that.
So you found someone else's DNA, right?
That's right. Mr. Doig, who was the one whose car we found it in.
You didn't find Miss Ocean's fingerprints on that money.
No.
Sir, you arrested Miss Ocean the next day after this crime.
That's right. Per her parole, she was supposed to stay in the state of Alabama. Obviously, she was out in Nevada. I had to make an arrest.
Sir, you did not find a single scrap of physical evidence when you arrested Miss Ocean one day later.
I didn't find anything indicating that she'd been in the vault or anything like that.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything further from the government?
Briefly, Your Honor. Agent Grimes, do you have any evidence to confirm that that video that Mr. Kunde had referred to with the defendant in there is for sure Miss Ocean?
I can't really say one way or another. Like I said, I couldn't see the individual's face. So while they were dressed the way that Miss Ocean said that she was, I couldn't confirm if it was her.
Thank you, Agent Grimes. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Agent. Do we have any further witnesses from the government?
No further witnesses from the government, Your Honor. We rest our case in chief.
Okay. Is there anything we need to take up at mid-trial? Or are we ready to proceed to the defense's case?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. We're ready to call our first witness.
Okay, go ahead.
Just going to give her a moment as she moves to a different room. Your Honor, at this time, the defense calls Danny Ocean.
Proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Can you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. Hi, my name is Danny Ocean.
Why are you in court today, ma'am?
Back in 2022, in July, there was a big robbery at the New York Casino and Hotel in Vegas. I was staying there at the time. Now I'm on trial for conspiracy and grand theft.
Ma'am, did you commit that crime?
No, the people who did do it, they confessed. I knew them, but I had nothing to do with it.
Ma'am, if you weren't a part of that operation, can you tell the members of the jury why you were at the hotel?
It sounds kind of stupid. But my wife, Tess, we had just gotten in a fight and she left. I had heard that she was dating the owner of the casino, so I followed her to try to get her back.
Then I want to talk about the people who did commit that crime. You said you knew them. How was that?
They were friends of mine. I didn't know what they were up to when they were there in Vegas. We got drinks a couple of times, but I didn't know anything about what they were going to do.
Then I want to talk about what you were doing in that time in Vegas. When did you check into your hotel?
It was June 21st.
How long were you there for?
2 weeks.
Why'd you need 2 whole weeks, ma'am?
The last time I saw my wife, she was storming out the door and screaming that she never wanted to see me again. I was working up the nerve to talk to her.
Did you know that the robbers were staying at the hotel?
I did. Like I mentioned, we got drinks a couple of times. One of them had called me and said they were going to be in Vegas, that they were going to book rooms next to mine.
Ma'am, were you ever shown a call, a reservation log from that?
I was, sir. During my interview with the FBI agent, Agent Grimes, he showed me the reservation log to confirm my own reservation. And I also saw the 10 people who confessed to this crime. They were on it as well.
And did they make their reservation the same day you did?
No, sir. I believe they made theirs in May. I believe it was May 10th. I booked my reservation all the way back in March, almost 2 full months before.
Ma'am, did those robbers, did they check in on the same day as you?
No, they showed up a week after I did. I was there on the 21st. They got there the 28th.
Ma'am, did they use your credit card to pay for those rooms?
No, sir. They all used the same credit card. At least that's how it looked on the log. I used my own credit card. Everything they had on that log was exactly the same for all 10 of them, but mine was different. I just wasn't involved.
Ma'am, if you weren't involved, I want to talk about where you were when that crime was happening. Did you have an alibi?
I did, sir. I was at the casino. I was at a blackjack table. I believe the robbery was at 10 p.m. I was there at that table the exact same time.
Did you tell the agent that?
Yes. I told him, look at the footage. I'm wearing a blue baseball cap and sunglasses. If you see that on the footage, that's where I was.
Ma'am, were you here when Agent Grimes testified?
Yes, I've been present the entirety of trial.
Did you hear what he said about the security camera footage in court today?
Yes, I heard him say he looked at it and he found someone in a baseball cap with sunglasses. That was me.
Ma'am, I want to talk about whether anyone said you were at the scene of the crime then. Have you heard the sentencing hearing of the people that confessed, ma'am?
Yes, that was another thing I was shown in my interview. They showed me a transcript of the hearing. The people that committed this crime, they explained to the judge all the ways they had done it, what all their roles were.
And when they were describing that crime, did they ever mention your name?
No, nobody said I had anything to do with this.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Ocean.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, you told us on direct examination that you went to the hotel for a specific reason, right?
Yes, to find Tess.
Right. So that you could win back your ex-wife?
Yes, sir.
But your ex-wife, well, she was dating the owner of the New York hotel, right?
Yeah.
That owner is Will Lorenzen.
Yes.
And when you found this out, you weren't happy about it, right?
Sir, of course not. She's the love of my life and she ran off to be with somebody else. I just wanted to get her back.
But I want to be clear because it's your opinion that you believe anyone who steals from the owner of the New York hotel is okay in your book, right?
In my book, if somebody were to steal with that guy, I wouldn't really care.
Now, you also had told us on direct examination that you had a clear alibi that night, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you were playing blackjack in the casino?
Yes.
And you told us that you're on camera doing this
Yes.
in an outfit that conveniently hid your face.
Objection, Your Honor, as to argumentative.
Any response?
Yes, Your Honor, there's no argumentative factor. It's cross-examination. If the witnesses chooses to respond with yes or no, she's free to do so.
Response to that, Your Honor?
I'll allow the question.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Miss Ocean, it was in an outfit that conveniently hid your face, right?
Sir, I wasn't trying to hide my face.
Well, you were here when Agent Crime said that the camera couldn't see your face, right?
Right. I believe he said he couldn't catch my face, but I wasn't trying to conveniently hide my face, sir. It's just what I was wearing.
Right. Well, you were wearing a hat,
That's true.
wearing sunglasses that covered your eyes.
Hey, yes, sir. We were in Nevada. It was warm.
Right. But Miss Ocean, you're also familiar with the 10 people who have already pled guilty, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're still friends with all of them.
Yes, sir.
You're friends with all 10 of them.
Yes, sir.
And like you told us on direct examination, they invited you to join their heist.
They told me there was a job and asked if I wanted to be a part of it. I of course said no.
But like you're saying, you had nothing to do with their plans, right?
Right. I didn't even ask for details of it. They asked if I wanted to be a part of something. I wasn't interested. I had one goal, going to Vegas, and it was to get back Tess.
So you just happened to plan a trip to the same state as them,
I was following Tess. Yes, sir.
to the same city as that group,
Yes, sir.
to the same hotel as them,
Right.
and you were in a room on the same floor as them.
Yes, sir.
So, Miss Ocean, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your current living situation. Now, after the owner of the hotel was robbed of $160 million, your ex-wife came back to you.
Me and Tess did recently get back together. That's true.
And the two of you have been bouncing back and forth between your estate and your villa.
Yes, sir, we do have two homes.
Two very expensive properties that you purchased after the hotel was robbed.
I purchased them this year after my living situation changed. I do believe it was since July of 2022.
You bought them after January of 2023, right?
Yes, in the past 6 months. That's true.
But I want to be clear, Miss Ocean, you paid for all of that in cash, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything further with this witness with the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, redirect examination.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, Mr. Banuelos asked you a few questions about whether you were following that group of people to Las Vegas. Did they book their hotel rooms before or after you booked yours?
It was after, sir. I had booked a couple months before.
And when you planned your trip to Vegas, did you know they were going?
No, actually, when I spoke with one of them, they asked me if I'd be in Vegas. I said I was already going to be there, and they said they were going to come join me. I believe that's why their rooms were so close to mine, because I told them where I was staying.
Why were you planning on going to Las Vegas?
Well, it wasn't just that I was going to Las Vegas, sir. I was going to this specific hotel because that's where Tess was. I was following her. I wanted to win her back, and like I was just asked, I eventually did. So.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. The witness is excused, barring recross, right?
No recross examination, Your Honor.
Oh,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, remind me, do we get a break before closing in any capacity?
Not in this jurisdiction, Your
All
Honor.
right, then.
Your
Defense
Honor,
rep.
you're willing to, it's up to you, but you're welcome to give each of them a moment to compose their thoughts for closing.
If time permits, and if Mr. Kunde agrees, are you permittable to 5 minutes?
Defense is fine with that.
No. You guys can have a moment, not a full break.
Yes, Your Honor.
And if
Just-
the witnesses who are timekeeping could message me in the chat about the time remaining, that'd be great.
Yes, Your Honor. Just a moment on that time, Your Honor.
You're good. Government.
Yes, Your Honor. Apologies. I was readjusting myself. May I proceed?
You may.
It wasn't a coincidence. It was a conspiracy. Members of the jury, I'm going to be honest. I'm quite impressed with how many coincidences the defense tried to bring you today. Mr. Kunde essentially listed out a lot of coincidences. You heard things about love. You heard things about how hotel receipt doesn't make sense. But I want to make sure that you're familiar with one thing that we know. Because on July 4th of 2022, 11 people broke into a vault at the New York Hotel Casino and stole $160 million. Now, like I told you at the beginning of today's trial, 10 pleaded guilty, but there's still one left. That's why today we brought forth 2 charges against Danny Ocean: grand theft and conspiracy. To prove our case, we had to show you that Danny Ocean plotted with others to steal over $1,000, and the action was taken to further that crime. We had to prove these things beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a high burden, and rightfully so. We wouldn't have it any other way. But all it means is that we have to prove that the defendant's guilt is beyond any doubt based in reason or common sense. As you heard throughout today's trial, 10 individuals pled guilty to grand theft and conspiracy. So we already know that these crimes were committed. We just had to prove that the defendant was part of the plot. So let's walk through what we know. Now, as you heard from the special agent, Agent Grimes, his investigation revealed that Peter Jones, one of the people in this investigation, proudly told the story of the heist during a sentencing hearing. He recalled with ease the details of the scheme, how the group cut the power to the Vegas Strip, fooled the hotel owner with fake videos of a burglary, and then dressed up as a SWAT member to commit the actual robbery. But he left a key detail out. Agent Grimes told us that 6 fake SWAT members appeared on the CCTV footage, but Peter Jones only named 5. Of course, Mr. Kunde, well, he tried clarifying this, but I want to be clear. I want you to question, who is that missing SWAT member? If it was one of the 10 conspirators who pled guilty, why wouldn't Mr. Jones say that? It doesn't make sense. But you know what does make sense? Peter Jones wasn't the only one to allude to the existence of an 11th conspirator. That's how we know this case makes sense. We know this case makes sense because there is an 11th conspirator. Now, Agent Grimes told you about Clark Doig, who told you that, well, he was found with that $14.5 million, that it's 11th of a share. Now, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a person activating in a heist. But each person has their own job. Each person has specific responsibilities. That's how you get your share. If Doig wasn't found with $14.5 million, then that's how we know there was only 10 people. But understanding what Agent Grimes told you, what he found on Doig was a share between 11 people, not 10. So the question becomes, who was it? But that missing piece of the puzzle is there. It's the defendant. Of course, accusations aren't always accurate, so the FBI had to collect more evidence before they could arrest the defendant. But it didn't take long for the rest of the picture to come into view. Which brings us to the next point. How we know the defendant was involved in this heist. Agent Grimes learned quickly that the defendant was not the only one in Las Vegas that night. She was staying at the New York Hotel and Casino on the very same floor her fellow thieves were. We know that's not a coincidence because Peter Jones would later confirm that staying on the same floor was essential to their plan. You heard that from the testimony of the agent. Now, of course, Miss Ocean kept trying to tell you that it was because of love, that she loved her ex-wife. She tried to get back with her ex-wife. Well, that's motive right there. Perhaps unintentionally, but the defense is helping us prove our case. Just don't take my word for it. Let the evidence speak for itself. Because we showed you that reservation list from the hotel. And when I asked Danny Ocean on cross-examination, she confessed to something that's quite interesting. It's filling in that missing puzzle. Members of the jury, she confessed that she went there for her ex-wife, that she was mad, that she was angry, that she was dating the hotel owner. And of course, Mr. Kunde and Miss Ocean tried telling you time and time again, well, I plotted this beforehand. I made the reservation in March. Members of the jury, perhaps unintentionally, but she just told you that she was the mastermind. From March all the way to June, she was planning all of this, and the effect and the plan and the scheme went into action because she admitted that they were her friends with all 10 who planned the heist. So to make it seem as if she was not involved with her friends, the defendant lied to you today. The defendant told you that she was playing blackjack that night. But it's rather convenient that the only proof of an alibi is one where we can't see her face, where she wore a hat and sunglasses. But members of the jury, ask yourself, is that really her? Or is it someone with a similar build that she paid off to give her alibi? Was she in the casino playing blackjack at all? You heard time and time again that the defendant had struck an alibi because she was on camera. But that's where we also showed you footage as well. 6 SWAT team members. We have no idea that that was her at that casino. But we do know that she was involved in this because she got invited to it. She had knowledge about it. She was not playing blackjack in the casino. She was conspiring in the heist by acting as a fake SWAT member. Now, when I'm done talking here, Mr. Kunde is going to come up here and talk to you like I have. I'm confident that he's going to tell you that the money, the hotel, the numbers don't make sense, but really, it's quite a coincidence that the things that he's telling you are just chance, are just coincidences. It's not a coincidence that Clark Doig named the defendant as a conspirator. It's not a coincidence that the defendant is friends with all 10 conspirators. It's not a coincidence that the defendant was in the exact right place at the exact right time. Because coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, well, it isn't chance. It's conspiracy. Find the defendant, Danny Ocean, guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, government. Closing from the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
10 people break into a casino and steal millions of dollars. Those 10 people have some things in common. They book their hotel rooms together. They confess together. They tell a judge exactly what role each of them played in the crime together. Their facts match. Miss Ocean's don't. Miss Ocean's facts tell us she was at that hotel for a different reason. That she was somewhere else when they robbed that casino. That she played no role, had no part in that operation. The facts don't match. And members of the jury, we can't just ignore that. Not in a criminal trial, not when the prosecution has the burden to prove their case beyond all reasonable doubt. Not when we owe the defendant a presumption of innocence. Today, we have a duty to look at the prosecution's case and ask, is this really the only reasonable explanation? Because the prosecution's burden, it was a high one and they did not meet it. They had to prove to you Miss Ocean committed 2 crimes, grand theft and conspiracy, and they had to answer every reasonable question in your mind. So I want to go back to those 3 questions I asked you at the start of today's trial. What evidence is the prosecution's case missing? Is there any actual proof there were ever more than 10 people involved? And third, do the facts match? So let's start with that first one. The evidence the prosecution's missing. Because we heard over and over from the prosecution's own investigator, they're missing fingerprints, DNA, no videos, no photos, no witnesses, no texts, no emails, no phone calls. I mean, members of the jury, they're trying to tell you the woman committed grand theft and conspiracy without a shred of the proof those crimes would have left behind. I mean, members of the jury, every second On that direct examination, they were guessing. They told you there were 6 people in the footage. They don't know who the 6th one is, so they're going to guess it's Miss Ocean. They told you the money was split 11 ways and 11th went to Miss Ocean, but they didn't see the rest of that money. They're going to guess it went to Miss Ocean. I mean, really think about what they're asking you to believe. They're asking you to believe a woman who never committed a crime before got a call from her friends saying, do you want to rob a casino and hotel, shut down the lights, hack the security footage, and steal $160 million? And she just says, sure. Members of the jury, that's not reasonable. The defense just can't ask you to guess. The prosecution can't just ask you to guess. They have to prove it. Mr. Banuelos, in his closing argument, said we can't trust the alibi because maybe she paid someone to stand on the casino floor for her. They can't just throw out theories. They have to prove them, members of the jury. So that brings us to the second question. Could they actually prove there were more than 10 people involved? Because they couldn't even show you anyone else was a part of that plan. I mean, you have to believe that those 10 people that confessed were lying. And there just wasn't evidence to support that. And members of the jury, even if you believe there were 11 people involved in this crime, even if you think they met that burden, you still can't convict Miss Ocean. Because it's not enough for them to say there were 11 people. They have to prove that that 11th person was Miss Ocean. They can't just say she probably fits the part, she was on the same floor. They have to prove it, that she actually took steps to further that operation. So that brings us to our third question. Do the facts actually match? Because 10 thieves made their reservation on the same day, for the same time, with the same credit card. Miss Ocean had her room booked for months, for different dates, with a different card. The facts don't match. 10 thieves walked into a vault together, get photographed, get caught, testify to each other's name in court, and not one of them mentions Miss Ocean in that courtroom. The facts don't match. The only facts consistent in today's case have been Miss Ocean's. She told you exactly where she was when that crime was being committed, that she was on the floor of the casino in a blue hat and sunglasses. We showed you that the prosecution's lead investigator confirmed that. They want you to forget about that evidence. They want you to guess that maybe it wasn't her. Members of the jury, they can't ask you to guess. They have to prove their case. They're hoping the facts don't match, but it's close enough. Find Miss Ocean not guilty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, defense. Rebuttal from the government.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can proceed when you're ready.
Members of the jury, the judge told you to leave a lot of things at the door today. He told you to leave your biases, any prejudices, any preconceived notions, but he never told you to leave your common sense at that door. And if your common sense is telling you Ocean hated and helped in this scheme, well, that means that she's guilty. Now, of course, Mr. Kunde, he did come up here right now and he told you to keep in mind 3 questions. And I wrote them down as well. He asked you what evidence is missing. And so I want to break those questions down one by one. So that first question, evidence is missing. We know that Ocean was involved. Remember back to what we showed you on that reservation list. Agent Grimes said that she was in the middle of it on the same floor. We showed you that she had knowledge of it. And we also showed you that she had motive to rob this casino and hotel. He also asked any proof of more than 10 people involved. He said that there was too much reasonable doubt. What he told you wasn't reasonable doubt, it's doubting reason. Because Agent Grimes told you that what he found on Doig was a share of between 11 people. Members of the jury, that speaks for itself. But he also told you about the alibi because he asked, do the facts match? They do. Because members of the jury, she wasn't at that casino. Her face was conveniently there. Wasn't there. Members of the jury, these three questions don't make sense. Because it wasn't a coincidence. It was a conspiracy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a moment to complete our ballots. At the end of that, the judges will come on screen and provide a little bit of feedback.
We have all the ballots. You guys can start your comments.
Do you two want to kick us off?
Yeah, go ahead, Erica. Start us off.
Okay. Hi, guys. I thought you guys were both really incredible, really dynamic. I think that I loved both of the themes from each side, and just in general, how you guys recovered from difficult points of like dealing with witnesses and rulings from the judge. I thought that was really great. I think just like to like kind of highlight a point for each of you that I felt like really stood out. One, I will say, I love when people use the theme within the like examinations. So on defense, like really enjoyed you kind of incorporating that into the cross. I think in addition to that, I think you did a really good job about like witness control on the cross and really like pinning this witness, particularly when I was talking about like the description of the defendant and like the articles of clothing, like you really like, I think nailed him when he was trying to kind of like not give you a straight answer. And I think you didn't like let up and really conveyed the point super well. For the government side, again, really liked the theme. I thought that the cadence at which you spoke was great. I think that you did a really good job about keeping a slow tone on your cross-examination. And so that was super helpful because it made it really easy to follow, and it made it seem like you weren't nervous because you were staying at that like slow pace. I also thought that you did a really great job in terms of having energy on your close. I felt like it was like there's a lot of like movement, a lot of like intonation. It was very engaging. So for each of you guys, great job and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, so I agree with everything Erica said. Very good points. I think to kind of follow her lead and go one thing that I like most for both of you guys. I thought for the government, super conversational the entire time. It really stood out on your direct and on your opening. And then for the defense, I thought you were super responsive the whole time. You had good objections, good responses to objection arguments. And then a couple things just for the future. So for the defense, I think on your direct, you had a couple of questions for the defendant about, what time did the thieves check in? What time did the theft occur, stuff like that. I think it comes off a little suspicious when you have the defendant like reciting specific details of the crime that she wasn't involved in. So I think in the future, if you just kind of phrase it as, the agent testified that the theft occurred at this time, what were you doing then? Just something like that, kind of take the sting out of the defendant, giving up details of the crime. And then for the government, I think this is kind of the flip side of that coin, your conversational tone. I think it really gives you an opportunity, especially when you're crossing the defendant, to stop being conversational, to start being aggressive. And it makes it more powerful, especially when you have a baseline that is very friendly and very agreeable. So I would like to see a little more of that. But overall, you guys are super polished, super clean. And I know you didn't have much time for the case, so great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are both phenomenal. It's no surprise to me that you're in the semifinal. I definitely echoing these past two comments. Isaiah, you're just unflappable. I mean, it's strong presentation. It's very calm, and particularly when a couple rulings didn't go your way, you're rolling right with it. You're unfazed. That's really impressive. From the defense, I really enjoyed the way you roadmapped your case from beginning to end. That helps a lot, because there's so much going on with this crime. It helps to give us that through line as jurors. And for the government, I really enjoyed you engaging with those questions at the end. I think you needed to do that, and I was glad that you did. Great job, guys. Best of luck. And it's impressive that you made it this far. Well deserved.
I want to thank our three judges and congratulate both of our competitors. Moving on to the finals from the UCLA division, Jackson Kunde from Wisconsin. Congratulations. Thank you both.
Very much. And great trial. It was phenomenal. Really a privilege.
Jackson, if you want to stick around for a second.